I am Xuan, and today I'm going to talk about how to use AI to improve the discoverability of research insights. And before going into that, I also want to have a disclaimer. I am in no means trying to say that this is the only way to do it. So I'd rather to sort of use this to kick off a discussion about how to leverage AI in research processes in general. And then I am also going to talk just a little bit more about myself. Again, I am Xuan, and I am based out of the Seattle area in the US. And before Instacart, I worked at TikTok as well as Yelp. So some really quick questions to you all. I know I cannot see you, but I would still encourage you to actually raise your hand if you have ever struggled to find research insights. And the meme here is, I know it's like paperwork, but we don't really read any physical documents anymore. It's just an analogy to use. All right, and then for others, raise your hand if you have ever been asked to share the same research insights about that one specific topic over and over and over and over again. I'm sure you've had those moments saying, oh, not again, not this topic again. And I just want to mention that in this process of discovering research insights as well as delivering research insights, no one was quite happy, at least in my experience. So for non-researchers, there can be a lot of blockers where they may not even know whom to reach out to, or they may not know where to find research insights. And it is possible that there's not a centralized place for all the research insights. And even when they do know whom to reach out to, they may not get timely responses from researchers because researchers have other priorities. And then on the other side of this relationship, for researchers, they feel frustrated as well. So a lot of times it feels like consolidating research insights in a way is like a repetitive task. It feels like a chore. And also it takes a lot of time. And especially when there are times where it would involve multiple researchers in a way. And at Instacart, we have tried a lot of different methods. We have built out a consolidated research repository using some of these tools that are indicated here. We also tried to improve to increase the awareness and usefulness of the repository. We tried to rebrand it. We tried to sort of standardize how we present research reports in those portals or in the research repository. However, that still led to low engagement in a way. And we think one of our hypotheses is that all these tools, they're outside of the everyday, the naturalistic workflow of the stakeholders that we have. It is just another app for them to sign up for. And then in addition to that, at Instacart, we use Slack for daily communications. We also created a Slack channel called Research-Insights, where we would proactively post research insights. It is also a place where our cross-functional team members can reach out to us for any user insight related questions. However, the engagement was quite low in this scenario as well, as in there were few reactions to the posts that we post as researchers, and also there were few requests from non-researchers. Sometimes there's also notification fatigue. It is just another channel that people don't really check that much. And then GPT came out. So some of us thought, hey, what if we just used generative AI to deliver on-demand research insights? And we quickly acted on that. We gathered a mighty team where there were multiple functions on the team. We had a product manager, some engineers, and also some researchers. And each of us had different responsibilities. So the product manager acted more like an advisor role. He wasn't involved a lot throughout the process, but he was very involved in the beginning. And for the engineers, they were the behind the scenes heroes. They handled all the technical stuff. And for researchers, we played a bunch of different roles. For me, I was acting like the product manager or the program manager. I did a little bit of herding the cats. And some other researchers, we split some responsibilities where we provided feature input. We also gathered feedback from different groups of people. We also reviewed AI generated responses and handled all the communications. And before moving on, I do want to pause a little bit and talk about one of the lessons learned. Because while I was talking about this effort that we had at Instacart with some of my other researcher friends, they had a question about, hey, how did you get buy-in from leadership? How did you get the resources to actually build a tool like this? And I just want to say you have to unite like enthusiasts and gather people who are already passionate about it. So I think we got a little bit lucky in this case. All the people that were involved in this project, like they were already working on something AI related, and they were all like super passionate about it. For example, like one of the engineers, he was building internal tools using AI, and the other one, he was already thinking about how to use AI to improve research processes. So it was just like very natural for us. Um, and we sort of learn about their passion through just like building personal connections through work. And then on top of that, we also had research leadership support. At the time, we had a 20% carve out on research-led OKRs, or basically we were encouraged to use 20% of our time to improve research processes. And on top of that, our company culture also supports using AI to boost productivity. So I think the lessons learned here is to learn more about your coworkers' enthusiasm, what they're passionate about, and then really find people who resonate with your passion, specifically improving research processes, maybe leveraging AI as well, and then gather those people together, and that'll just make things a lot more faster. And then I also want to talk a little bit more about the timeline. So we kicked this project off in September last year, and we launched the alpha version of the tool in October, which was a really speedy process. And I also want to highlight that this was not like an all hands on deck situation. The researchers were only using 20% of our time to work on it. And for some of the engineers, they were even working over hours for it. So this was, in my opinion, a really speedy launch in a way. And then after the launch, we kept getting feedback and we kept doing some improvements until today. We're still like improving the tool that we have built. And I think that's another lessons learned for like from my perspective at least, which is to move fast. So I also want to just like go back a little bit. At the very beginning, I kicked off the process, I kicked off the project, and I proposed leveraging a more traditional waterfall method to approach the project, which was like, we would, what I proposed was we would gather a round of user feedback first, and we would propose some features, and then we would start designing and developing the tool. However, the product manager came in and he was like, why don't we just adopt a more agile approach? And I think that made a lot of sense because first of all, like we were building a product that is AI powered, and there was like, because it was so new, like what we could predict in terms of how people would interact with it was very limited. So what we could do was just to like build something and throw it out there and then see how people would interact with it. Especially since this was an internal project, an internal tool, so the stakes were pretty low there. So we could afford making some mistakes and iterate quickly and improving the product over time. So I think that was like a super valuable advice that we got from the product manager, which was to move fast, test often, and also iterate quickly. And we benefited a lot from this. I know I talked a lot about like the team and the timeline. I haven't talked about what we built yet. And I want to show you the behind the scenes a little bit. So this was what we built behind the scenes. What we did was we connected our like GPT with our research repository that we built through Sharper. It's like one of the tools that I mentioned earlier. And whenever we have a question that comes in, the GPT would sort of like reorganize the question a little bit. If there are, for example, if there are multiple parts of the question, it would try to consolidate the multiple parts of the question together, and then it would go into our research repository and find the most relevant research reports. And from there, it would try to summarize the research insights and then provide the sources or like the links to the sources. And in the spotlight, or like what the users would experience, is just another contact in your Slack. So we actually built that into our Instacart internal AI agent, which is called Genie. So there is a Slack bot of Genie, and we just leveraged that. We invited that chatbot into our Research Insights Slack channel, where like users can just tag Genie and ask a user-related question, and from there, Genie would like go into our research repository and then bring up some summarized AI insights. And this is a video of Genie answering questions in action. As you can see, it is like thinking for a bit, and then it would just summarize the most relevant insights and then provide the source to it. And sometimes when the information is available, it would also tag the author or the researcher who conducted the research, so they can also provide additional help when necessary. And then that led us to another lessons learned. If you remember, like earlier I mentioned, like one of the hypotheses that we had about why some other tools that we have tried to build the research repository wasn't so successful. It was because it was just another tool. The friction was pretty high. It was another tool to sign up for. So I think one of the reasons why this project has had some success is that we actually built it into the naturalistic workflow. Like people use Slack every day, and we just built another contact into their Slack instead of being maybe like one of a dozen new tool that they have like in their Okta dashboard. And I will also talk a little bit more about the engagement that we have had about with this tool later on. And so far it sounds great, but I know many of you, especially researchers, may have some concerns, like some concerns specifically related to AI summarized research insights. We also took that into consideration in a way. We know AI generated insights might not be perfect, so we created a heuristic evaluation rubric. It is a template that includes multiple criteria that we would use to evaluate AI generated or like AI summarized research insights. So some of the criteria we include accuracy, timeliness, comprehensiveness, consistency, sources, and also readability. And for each of them, we have defined what it means like in the rubric, and also provided some like questions on like how to evaluate the AI generated AI summarized research insights. For example, like for accuracy, we define it as the condition or quality of the AI generated responses is true, correct, or exact. And we sort of prompt people to think about if the insights or recommendations presented were aligned with those in the research report, and also if the connections or generalizations of insights made reasonable in a way or not. We also configured Genie, the tool, in a way to accommodate all these criteria. For example, like for accuracy, what we did was we would only allow Genie to index research reports, not raw data, just so people like don't take a few sentences out of the chapter. And also for timeliness, we only allowed Genie to index reports since 2021 to make sure that research reports are like recent and relevant in a way. And in terms of comprehensiveness, we had to make sure that our researchers upload all the reports into the repository, just so it can be searched by this AI tool. Otherwise, like it's just it wouldn't. If it is not uploaded to the research repository, it wouldn't even be available for the AI to search. And in terms of consistency, sources, and readability, we tried to accommodate those criteria through formatting the responses. For example, we have tried a bunch of different formats, but I think what we landed with was to summarize the insights first and then followed by links to the source individually. And then when introducing this Genie tool to the rest of the company, we set clear guidelines on what Genie is for, what Genie is not for, and also how to interact with it. So what Genie is for retrieving insights from existing research, whether that is market research, marketing research, exploratory research, or evaluative research. And we also was very specific about it was not for external research yet. It was at the time like Genie is connected to our internal tools and internal resources, but not so much about the open web. So it's not the best for external research. And we did not connect the Genie to any like other insights outside of the research org. So it wasn't for behavioral data analyses. Um, Also, like information that Genie could access, we couldn't guarantee that it would be publicly shareable. So if you want to share something, you have to still get like legal approval or like finance approval. And technically, Genie could work in direct messaging as well as in the Slack channel. But we asked people to post in research insights or like to ask Genie questions in the research insights channel, just so as researchers, like we can monitor Genie's responses all the time. Whenever there are inaccurate or like low quality responses, researchers can come in, provide some correction or additional insights. And we also had some very specific instructions to people when they're in terms of like the questions, how to ask questions to Genie. The first one is they need to provide context as much as possible, as if they were asking a question to the researcher. And also we encourage them to get specific. Avoid using ambiguous words like users or words that may easily misinterpret it. So for Instacart here, we have four sides of the marketplace. We have consumers who are actually ordering from the sorry, I think I forgot to introduce what Instacart is. But our core business is online grocery delivery. We have four sides of the marketplace. And the first side is the consumers, or like people who actually order from the Instacart platform. We also have shoppers, people who actually go into the stores and do the physical shopping. We also have retailers and advertisers. So we really encourage people to clarify the audience in this way, just so we can match them to the right research resources. And also we encourage them to avoid jargon or abbreviations. We encourage them to think that, hey, just assume Genie is not work in your field at all. And then some people would also ask, like, is Genie or like AI summarized research insights enough? Do I still need to go into the research report and read the whole thing? The answer is yes, please always double check the resources because AI oftentimes, they know what to say, but they don't really know what they're saying. So always double check the resources. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we did a lot of iterative testing and feedback. And we actually collected feedback from different groups. We collected feedback from researchers, where we treated researchers as experts and their responses as the baseline. And then we also collected feedback from just like all the other users or like the general users. For researchers, we conducted an expert review session where we asked researchers to basically use the template, use the heuristic evaluation rubric that we created. And then we asked them to come up some user-related questions in their own domains. We asked them to write up their own response to the questions, and we treated that as the baseline. And then we also asked them to ask Genie to generate the responses to the same questions, and then compare and review the AI generated research summary. Then provide feedback on the specific criteria that were proposed in the evaluation template, including accuracy, timeliness, comprehensiveness, sources, readability, and then lastly, if they would recommend the AI summarized research insights or not. In addition to that, we also created multiple channels for general users to provide feedback. For example, like in Slack, we had quick reactions where people can use to provide feedback on Genie's response, whether it works or not, or if they had like additional questions. We also had some automatic messages to nudge people to provide feedback in Slack. And then we created a general feedback. We created, of course, we're researchers, so we had to create some sort of survey. We created the survey to collect general feedback that was not necessarily associated with a specific response. And then researchers also sort of proactively reach out to coworkers who have used Genie for informal feedback, whether that is through like informal conversations or through following up in the Slack thread or not. And these are some of the feedback and improvement pairs that we had acted on. So I'll just go through some of them. For example, at the very beginning, we built this feature where people had to use a command, Like they had to add Genie, tag Genie first, and then they would have to add like /UX in a way to make sure Genie was acting as like a research summary function. And then we noticed that people had a lot of problems with the command. It could just be like formatting issues, an extra space here and there, and that created a lot of problems that just couldn't like really trigger the research insights search correctly. So what we did was we removed the command and just like asked people to tag Genie, and then in the back end we would auto route any questions that we identified or like Genie identified as a user related question that could be answered by research insights. Um, we route that to the Genie UX function based on the question asked. And then another example would be, so we had a lot of engineers working on a project, and they had a lot of like great ideas from the technical side. And they were building some like really great formatting changes to Genie, but in the VPN environment. However, most of our employees actually do not have VPN access. They didn't realize, and they didn't realize that until like the researchers and the PMs on the team told them about that. And their first reaction was like, I don't know how you can function without VPN. But the fact was just like, yeah, a lot of people's like job functions don't really rely on VPN to function. So as the result of that, we actually prioritize refining the Genie Slack bot versus refining like the VPN version of it. And then another one was at the very beginning of this project, we were only searching the first 10 pages of a research report. And that would sometimes overlook, super relevant information later in the deck, especially for some of our research projects, like the customer sentiment study. Like it would have hundreds of pages. Not saying like, pages later in the deck are not important. They're just like of different importance levels for different people. So what we did was later we expanded that search from 10 pages to 50 pages. It's still not perfect, but I think it also it has like improved a lot in terms of basically indexing as much information from a deck as possible. And also it sort of prompts researchers to rethink about the structure of our research decks as well. And then the next one would just be we realized that a natural behavior for researchers, it was that we have been tagging each other in the threads where a research related question was asked, just to provide more context when needed. And I think I've already showed this feature early on, but the improvement that we've made based on this observation was just to ask Genie to tag the author of the report automatically when the author is clearly noted in the report. All right, then I want to talk about where we are today and where we're going. The tool is still not perfect, but we have seen a lot of engagement. It has been used for more than 500 times since December, and also by a variety of functions. There were like product management, sales, marketing, design, and of course, research. We have some testimonials as well. So from researchers, even though they realize that even though they think, oh, their responses might be like exactly what the people may need, could be more comprehensive, but they could never come up with the bullet points as quickly as Genie. So efficiency-wise, Genie definitely helped a lot. And from our cross-functional teams, as you can see, they don't have a lot words to say, but like their behaviors are very encouraging in a way, because we noticed that a lot of them were tagging their coworkers in a way to let them know about this amazing tool, and also just like share any like summarized, very like bite-sized research insights with their coworkers. However, there are still some problems. For example, like it's not perfect yet. We cannot purely rely on the AI summarized research insights. Researchers still need to like monitor the questions coming in the research insights channel a lot to make corrections or provide additional information. And there are still a lot of technical issues. Genie at the point, or like GPT is not great at reading charts yet, and hallucination still happens. There can be inconsistency. There can be, I guess, like because sometimes we use inconsistent terminology throughout different reports, so it can lead to overlooked sources. And for now, our information source is also very limited in a way. We only have research reports hooked into GPT, not any other insights yet. And with that being said, in the future, what we want to explore is, as you all know, as some of you may know, yeah, a few weeks ago, OpenAI launched this new version of GPT, GPT 4.0. So we hope to leverage some of their vision capabilities for reading charts or like graphs. And also we will potentially explore using custom GPT to sort of limit hallucination, define interchangeable terminologies, or like, even define the output format a little bit more. We also hope to expand more information sources to help with triangulating user problems, potentially include reports from data science, BizOps, data ops, media analytics, and even more. And that is what I have to share for today. And I also want to thank all of these amazing people. Without their efforts, this project wouldn't be possible. And next, I'll just open the floor to questions.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Xuan. We actually have a question from Mashid, who's saying, how reliable do you find the quick reactions on Slack for the responses? Are you only focusing on thumbs up, thumbs down, and measuring NPS?
We're not actually measuring NPS. I don't think they're that reliable in a way, because the engagement was not super high. Not every single time people would like put a response, put a reaction to the response. But again, that's also the reason why we have multiple feedback channels, just so that we can have each of the channels complement each other.
Excellent. Sorry, there's questions coming in here, so I'll just fire them at you. Quick speakers. We only have 2 minutes left. Sandy has asked, can you share any prompts or logic you use to sort your raw data, or maybe what helps you analyze your information to get a report or takeaways?
I am afraid that I don't have that information. Again, like we only indexed. I just want to emphasize that we only indexed research reports, which is like already analyzed information. We didn't give access to the raw data, for example, like the interview scripts, because we believe like we would rather our cross-functional teams to access like research insights that are analyzed in a way so that they don't like take that one extreme example and take that like to inform any product decisions. But I'm afraid I can't share like the specific, I guess, back end things that we use, because I am not an expert. I am not an engineer in that perspective. Yeah, sorry about that.
Excellent. I could keep asking you lots of questions, because I've tried this myself, trying to build a custom GPT, and unfortunately the quality of the searching wasn't quite where I was hoping it would be, custom GPT 4.0, but maybe I'm doing something wrong. So afterwards, I'd love to, oh, sorry, go on.
Yeah, sorry, just one thing, I think I forgot to mention it. The reason why we are using Sharper, the tool that like where we build our research repository, is there are some metadata about the research reports that we could use. We had some taggings to the research reports, for example, like as I mentioned earlier, the fore size of the marketplace, and also like the author or like some other information. I think that potentially helped a little bit to improve the accuracy of the AI summarized research insights.